We have breaking news right now. Mike Johnson has officially folded. He will swear in Adelita Grijalva this week ahead of the government shutdown vote in the House of Representatives after more than 40 days of Arizona's 7th Congressional District not having a viable representative in Congress. Mike Johnson will fold. Mike Johnson will swear in Adelita Grijalva. Now, here's why this is significant. She becomes the 218th signature on the Epstein Files discharge petition. She will sign that petition among entering office as soon as this week, will force a vote of the full House of Representatives on the Epstein Files. Now, folks, Democrats are furious, and justifiably so. They are furious that Senate Democrats caved last night to reopen the government. And I just spoke with Hakeem Jeffries, the House Democratic leader, in an exclusive interview. His first reactions on air, reactioning to the vote last night. And he blasted how the 8, quote, random Democratic senators who went along with this. Now, he says he supports Schumer as leader still, and he says they're going to fight in the House of Representatives. Mike Johnson has not promised a vote to him or publicly just yet on the Affordable Care Act tax credits. But he is blasting those 8 senators, and I want you to see this. Get ready and watch this interview. Great to be here today with Leader Hakeem Jeffries of the House Democrats. Now, Leader Jeffries, I really want to just jump right into it because last night, after Senate Democrats joined Republicans to reopen the federal government on the Senate side, a lot of folks are frustrated. How do you expect voters to stay motivated when it seems like Democrats in the Senate are breaking ranks to join Republicans without a promise to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits?
Well, our fight is going to continue, certainly in the House, joined by the overwhelming majority of Senate Democrats who've continued to hold the line. We've made clear from the very beginning that we want to find a bipartisan path forward. Of course, we want to reopen the government, but we also need to decisively address the Republican healthcare crisis. And our view is that we will not support a partisan Republican spending bill that fails to meet the needs of the American people in terms of improving their quality of life, lowering the cost of living, and at this moment in time, extending the Affordable Care Act to avoid the tax credits, to avoid the fact that tens of millions of Americans are on the brink of experiencing dramatically increased health insurance premiums, copays, and deductibles. These are working class Americans that we're fighting hard to protect, and that fight will continue in the House of Representatives.
Now, I saw your statement last night coming out against this bill. House Democrats really seem uniformly against this bill. I do want to get to that in a second, but before I do, a lot of folks are frustrated with Chuck Schumer's leadership in the United States Senate. At this time, do you believe that Senator Schumer should remain as minority leader?
Yes, I think that Chuck Schumer has held the line during this 7-week fight, held Senate Democrats together, and continues to strongly oppose this effort by Republicans to enact a spending bill that doesn't meet the needs of the American people as it relates to extending the Affordable Care Act tax credits. He voted no on the procedural bill that was before the Senate, and it's my expectation that he will continue to hold the line and vote no and join us in our fight in the House. And also, I should point out, stay in this fight as we're moving forward together. Understand that Republicans have enacted the largest cuts to health care in American history. This began with their one big ugly bill. Donald Trump said he was going to love and cherish Medicaid. And then the Republicans turned around and enacted the largest cut to Medicaid in American history, more than 14 million Americans at risk of losing their health insurance, hospitals and nursing homes and community-based health centers on the brink of closing all across the country. Because of Republican policies, Medicare may face the possibility of a $536 billion cut at the end of the year if Congress doesn't act. Of course, because Republicans refuse to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits, people are going to experience dramatically increased health insurance premiums, in some cases $1,000 or $2,000 more per month. That's why we're staying in this fight and are going to battle hard when the bill comes over to the House of Representatives. And they're attacking the Centers for Disease Control, the National Institutes of Health. It's an all-out assault that Republicans have launched on the health care of the American people. And it's going to have to be an all-out response that is sustained today, tomorrow, this week, this month, next month, this year, next year, until we can take back control of the House of Representatives and begin the process of ending this national nightmare.
Well, I got to ask you, because I think a lot of people were concerned. They did see Schumer vote no, but then these 8 Democrats vote yes. Were you and your team ever in communication with those 8 Democrats? Was there a surprise among House Democrats that these Senate Democrats were going to vote with Republicans? Kind of take us through that process.
Yeah, so I think initially there was one Democrat, Fetterman, who voted with the Republicans. And then I think 2 additional Democrats joined him during the first or second vote. And then for about 14 or 15 votes straight, the Democrats in the Senate were entirely unified other than those 3. And then, it appeared that, led by, I guess, the senior senator from New Hampshire, that there had been ongoing negotiations to try to get to a resolution. I have not had any conversations with her. I don't know her. I'm confused as to why she made the decision to take this approach in the face of the overwhelming public sentiment that Democrats are on the right side of this fight. But we can't let a handful of random senators sort of take us off track as it relates to the fight that we're waging to lower the high cost of living, to fix our broken healthcare system, and to clean up corruption. We have to continue to stay the course, to push back against their extremism, to build upon the success that all of us collectively had on Tuesday, where the American people dealt a decisive blow to extremism with victories all across the country, in Virginia, in New Jersey, in New York, in California, in Pennsylvania, in Mississippi, in Georgia, and all across the country, up and down the ballot. That effort has to continue. And we certainly will do our part in the House of Representatives to push back aggressively against, the effort to rip away health care from the American people when the bill comes over to us at some point later on this week, and then stay in the fight until we win the fight for the American people thereafter.
Well, so I want to talk about when the bill comes over to the House of Representatives. It needs a simple majority to pass, right? So are there any indications right now that any Republicans would consider breaking rank from Mike Johnson? Because it is relatively a new bill from the one that passed several weeks ago.
Well, that's right. The partisan Republican spending bill that initially left the House is dead now. And so that's why Mike Johnson and Republicans have to end their 7-week taxpayer-funded vacation. They've been nowhere to be found. And now they've got to actually get back into town, debate the issues in front of the American people, as opposed to burying their heads in the sand. Now, we know that several Republicans, including most prominently Marjorie Taylor Greene, but others, have publicly made the point that there actually is a healthcare crisis, that Democrats are correct in having raised and elevated this issue. But now we're going to have to see Republicans actually cast votes consistent with what they've publicly declared. And we're going to identify at least 20 to 25 Republicans who we believe are vulnerable on this issue, should stand up for the people that they represent, and push for a vote to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits, put their money in terms of their votes where their mouth has been.
Well, you said push for a vote on the Affordable Care Act tax credits. And I think that's something that a lot of folks are concerned about, because you have this promise in the Senate, but you don't have the same promise in the House, right? Mike Johnson 4 days ago said publicly that he's not going to guarantee a vote on the extension of the subsidies. If there is a vote in the Senate and it passes, have you spoken to Johnson? Will he guarantee a vote in the House?
We're going to continue to push Mike Johnson. He was asked that question earlier today and chose not to answer it, chose not to take questions. He's running and hiding from the scrutiny that we know he's going to be under in terms of this issue. And so we're going to continue to press the case, and we will use every single procedural vehicle available to us to try to force an up or down vote on extending the Affordable Care Act tax credits. And when we get that vote, we'll win that vote. And that's why Mike Johnson is the obstructionist, the obstacle right now, because he knows that the votes exist in the House, where House and Senate Democrats, having successfully raised this issue and elevated this healthcare crisis over the last 7 weeks, they can't run away from it any longer. And that's why Johnson is trying to play games in terms of his control of the House floor.
And Leader Jeffries, before I let you go, what is your message to an American who is looking at their healthcare bill right now, seeing that it's about to double and realizing that, hey, you know what, you guys are fighting for this vote, but what happens if there isn't a vote? What happens if Mike Johnson says we're not going to give him a vote? Donald Trump says we're not going to give him a vote. The vote in the Senate fails. What's your message to an American who looks at their healthcare bill and says, who's fighting for me?
Yeah, we are going to continue to stay in this healthcare fight because it is going to make a real difference in the quality of life of the American people. This is the wealthiest country in the history of the world. And we believe that healthcare, access to high quality, affordable healthcare, cannot simply be a privilege available only to the wealthy, the well-off, and the well-connected. Healthcare is a right that should be available to every single American. And that will continue to be our fight until we're successful in getting the Affordable Care Act tax credits extended and fixing our broken healthcare system overall, which will continue to require a lot of work because of how Republicans have devastated it so much during this toxic presidency, and the fact that House Republicans and Senate Republicans continue to be nothing more than a reckless rubber stamp for Donald Trump's extreme agenda. House Democrats will be a check and balance on this out of control executive branch.
Leader Jeffries, thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Hey folks, Aaron Parnas here. Thank you so much for watching The Parnas Perspective. Please consider subscribing to support our work as we grow this independent news media entity into something that rivals mainstream every single day. Thanks so much, and I'll see you soon.